Hey, it's Kyle. Something a little different for you today. Most everything you listen to on the Remodelers on the Rise show, podcast, pod, if you're hip and happening, has to do primarily with business. You'll see we weave in some life in there, but primarily it has to do with your remodeling business and helping you be a remodeler on the rise. Today, a little bit of a juke jive from what we typically cover. And I'm going to walk you through a worksheet called the 14 Areas of Life Worksheet. 14 Areas of Life Worksheet. If you look in the show notes, you'll be able to see a link to the PDF. Click on that. You'll open it right up. And I would encourage you to print that sucker out and follow along and give yourself some grades in each of these areas. Where this came from was back in October, a couple months back. My wife and I, my beloved wife, Sarah, my wife and I put on a Remodel Your Marriage, Life, and Business conference. We had 11 couples there. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. We will be doing it again in the future. TBD on the date, but keep an eye out for it. And besides the marriage focus, which was the primary, and also touching on the business side, we had a couple hours that we focused on the life portion. And this worksheet is what we crafted as part of that. And it's been valuable as I've walked some of my peer group members through it, walked some of my one-on-one coaching clients through it. And I wanted to also offer it to my beloved podcast listeners. So the concept behind it is let's review 14 areas of life and give a grade in each area, A, B, C, D, F. Or if you're kicking it old school, like they used to grade things, you go A, B, C, D, E. I think we do Fs now in school. Sometimes when I look at my kids' math assignments and think about their days, I go, I'm glad I'm already done with school. Don't have to wait for those grades. And you can use kind of plus minuses as well. So you might give yourself a B plus, might give yourself a C minus. And what we want to do is this is about how well you are actually performing in each of these areas. I want you to assign a grade to each and take your time going through all 14 and think and reflect on them. I'll walk you through in move quickly, don't rush. I won't rush through them, but I'll walk you through all 14 of them. And then there's some questions at the bottom that I want you to accomplish as well. So the first area of life, little drum roll, is your social life. Do I have friends and do I spend time with them? How would you give yourself a grade in that area? What grade would you give? Do I have friends and do I spend time with them? Your social life. I think as adults, I've noticed in the last couple decades, as I've been an adult, I'm 40, what am I? Am I 41? Yeah, 41 going on 42, soon to be 42. I have noticed maybe it's always been like this, or maybe it is with our technology focused lives that it is difficult to find friends as adults that we really connect with. Perhaps you're even married and sometimes, the husbands kind of connect, but the wives don't. This social life, I have found, and this will be the first time I use this phrase life-giving. I'll probably use it a few times as we walk through here, but I have found the social life to be very life-giving. Whether that is you as a woman hanging out with your women friends, whether it is you as a guy hanging out with some of your guy friends, whether you have couple friends, this area is an area that is life-giving. My buddy Tom has a phrase called doing life together. And my wife has a phrase called my people. Those are my people. Meaning we can be real with these people. We can be authentic. We can be who we are. And there's a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of camaraderie and just flat out friendship. I would argue that we as humans are built by our Creator to be in community, to be in relationship. And whether it's always been this way or whether the last decade or two of technology and screens have taken it over, this is an area that we should focus some time and attention to. Give yourself a grade in this area and then think about who in this area, who in your social life is somebody that you haven't connected with in a while. It is time to set up a breakfast. It is time to set up a lunch. And oftentimes at the end of that get together, you're feeling better. You're feeling more fulfilled. You're feeling seen. You're feeling like you had fun. So that's the first area, is your social life. Number two, marriage/significant other life, your spouse or your significant other. Give yourself a grade on how that is going. And as you reflect on that grade, think through a little bit of, why did I give us that grade? And what could we do to improve that? Maybe your ship's passing in the night. Maybe your phones are eating up your free time. Maybe you just need to be more intentional in this area. What's interesting, and this actually came from our marriage retreat, is when it comes to this area of life, your marriage or your significant other life, oftentimes it is not, I just need to devote 10 more hours a week to my spouse. It's usually not that. What's interesting is another hour, even just 1 hour out of your week of focused, intentional time can really make an impact in improving your relationship with your spouse. So take that into consideration. Number three, your family life, kids, extended family, etc. This is an important area of life for a lot of us. The kids part, whether you have older kids, whether you have younger kids, again, this word intentional is one that's probably appropriate in this area. And I'll emphasize a little bit on the extended family time. More in Thanksgiving and Christmas time, so we're maybe seeing and naturally seeing some of our extended family a little bit more here. But maybe there's a text, maybe there's a call, maybe my mom actually and her two sisters, and then also very close friend of theirs. I think, yeah, it's just a friend. I was thinking, is it a cousin? No, it was a friend they grew up with. They got sick of not seeing each other and saying things like, we should get together more often, and turned it into every month we have sister lunch. And kudos to them. They have made it happen. They've pretty much had a solid streak. I don't know if they've broke the monthly chain. Maybe they've missed it once or twice, but it's going on 2+ years of a sister lunch. They have made it a priority, and it is life-giving to them. It keeps them in relationship. It strengthens them. So think about area number three, your family life, kids, extended family. Give yourself a grade in that and think about ways that you might improve it. 14 areas of life is what we're going through. We hit on social life, marriage, significant other life, family life. I'll kind of cruise through a few of these. We don't want this to be too long. And again, if you go into your show notes on whatever little podcast app or YouTube that you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube, you see I busted out circa 2000, maybe 22 version of the Remodelers on the Rise hat, a fresh white with the beautiful Remodelers on the Rise logo popping off your screen. If you go in the show notes, you'll see a link to download this little areas of life. Number 4, it says your spiritual/faith life. This looks different for many people listening to this. But oftentimes, how would I say this? I'm a Christian man, so I know in my own personal faith life that if I am not having some quiet time in the morning where I'm reading my Bible, where I'm doing some journaling, where I'm setting aside some quiet time for prayer, that my day is usually out of kilter. Oftentimes I start my day opening up Facebook, opening up my email and working. And it's usually a bad start to the day when I approach it that way. For some of you, it means getting your fannies back to church. For some of you, it means meditation. For some of you, it means getting outside and getting into creation. I'm not sure what this means to you, but I do know that when we look outside of ourselves, oftentimes that is, here it comes again, life-giving. So I would encourage you to give yourself a little bit of a grade. Take it easy. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some mercy on these grades as you go through them, by the way. But think about that for you, your spiritual faith life. Number 5, your physical life. Am I taking care of myself? Oh, I've had this stomach ache for going on 2 weeks. I think it started a little bit before Thanksgiving. But it turns out if I eat like a pig and I do not move my body aches. And I'm pretty sure that's going to get more and more the case as the years add on. I didn't do it this morning. I still have to knock it out sometime today. I may get down and do it in my office here, but my office is also where all of the Christmas presents are. If you're watching the video version, look at that. Don't show the kids. There's a bunch of Christmas presents over there. Santa is at my office. But I have a little streak of when I'm in a good rhythm and routine of doing 100 crunches, 100 little bicycle crunches a day. and try not to break the chain. And I started that on Saturday because I woke up feeling lethargic and my body aching, which means I need to work it a bit. So your physical life, what does that look like? Am I taking care of myself? This becomes more and more important each year we are alive. There's a lot of people that probably have millions of dollars in the bank in retirement and feel crummy. We need to be taking care of our bodies. And that doesn't mean we got to be ripped and we got to be shredded and we got to get in an ice bath every day. Sounds miserable. That sounds miserable. But there is a happy medium here. What does this look like for you? And maybe that does mean shred. Maybe that does mean you need to get an ice bath. Whatever this means for you. Think about number 5, your physical life. Number 6, home maintenance / cleanliness life. The practical maintenance of my home. When you think about that area of your life, this is an area that actually takes up a decent amount of our time. Taking care of our home, taking care of the honey-do list, taking care of things. I had a client of mine who just built a brand new house last year. And I remember him saying, well, the house is done, so things are already starting to break in it. Meaning there's always, as a homeowner, things to be working on and fixing in your home. There are dishes to be done. There is cleanliness to be had. So give yourself a little grade in this area. Do you need help in this area? Do you need to buckle down? Do you need to share these responsibilities? What does that look like? Number 6, your home maintenance / cleanliness life. We're having so much fun. We're about the halfway point. Number 7, your time management life. How well am I using my time overall? Buckle up, because when you think about this, if you're like me, you'll see some room for improvement. There is not an A next to this box on my 14 areas of life worksheet. What needs to happen for us to manage our time better? What needs to happen for you personally in this time management area of life? Okay, that's number 7. So we got number 1, social life. Number 2, marriage, significant other life. Number 3, family life. Number 4, your spiritual / faith life. Number 5, your physical life. Number 6, your home maintenance / cleanliness. Number 7, time management life. Cruising right along. Again, show notes. Click this, download this PDF, give yourself a grade. This is a helpful exercise. It's not meant to beat yourself up. It is not meant to go, look, woe is me. Look at all these areas I'm failing. That's not our goal here, but it is to take a step back. Our goal is to take a step back and give yourself an honest appraisal. It's a wonderful time of the year to be doing that. You might be listening to this near the end of the year or the start of the year. So hopefully you're downloading this and going through this. Number 8, computer / device life. Excessive time on devices, social media, etc. I've probably put 50 people or so through this areas of life so far. And we like to, as adults, say, those young whippersnappers, they're just always with their noses in their phones, wasting their life away. Turns out there's a lot of adults, myself included, that do not give themselves an A or an A- or a B, or maybe even a B- in this computer / device life. As I was looking at this with my peer group members one-on-one at our retreat, there was a lot of C's on here. There's a lot of D+ that were graded on here. There's a new little device called Brick, BRICK. Several of my clients, one of my peer group members showed it to us when we were down in Charlotte, and a couple people have already bought it. And you can select the different social media or apps or whatnot that you want to be active or not want to be active. And it's a physical device, and you put your little phone on it and it clicks into brick mode. And let's say you have this device at home, and then you say, I'm going to be bricked. So you can still access your email. You can still access maps. Your texting still works, but a bunch of other stuff does not work, and you do not have access to it. You leave the house, and all of a sudden, 8 hours later, you've been bricked all day. You don't miss it. You don't miss it, people. You might even click into your Kindle app or your Bible app or who knows what, and then you can unbrick it with just a quick little tap. Several of my clients, this has been helping their screen time quite a bit. You can do similar things using screen time, etc. But your number 8, your computer / device life. Give yourself a grade on that. Number 9, your serving life. How well are you serving others? Your serving life. How well are you serving others? Now, naturally, in your business as a remodeler, you are serving your clients. You are serving your employees. So a good chunk of your serving life kind of happens naturally through what you're doing. In addition to that, there is an abundance of opportunities to serve in your community and in groups you belong to. And what I have found is when I am focused on me, myself, and I want to talk about me, want to talk about I. It's a good song. Who's the guy that sang that? Is that a Toby Keither? I want to talk about I. Yeah, that's Toby Keith. I think Toby Keith's sick right now. Is Toby Keith sick? Hang on. Let's look. No, he passed away. I apologize. Toby Keith passed away February 2024. But there was that song that he wrote, talented little country artist. When we are focused on me, myself, and I, oftentimes, I would say I can't speak for everybody. I know for me, when I am selfish and only looking inward, I am not my best self. And often, if I'm mopey, if I'm whiny, usually looking outside myself and focusing on others and serving others is the antidote to flipping that mood and mindset. You should rewind that 15 seconds because that was a pretty good, besides the singing, was a pretty good line, is the antidote when I look outside myself. So give yourself a grade on the serving life. What comes to mind for you when it comes to serving others? Number 10, we're cruising through the 14 areas. Financial life, your financial life. I have words next to this of integrity with financials, savings, spending, investing, giving, etc. I'm working with more and more of my remodeling clients who are nearing or entering retirement. And without fail, I wish it wouldn't have had to be that crazy either. If I'd have just tucked another 100 a month away in my 401k, in my simple IRA, if I would have done that a little bit earlier, boy, those numbers would look a little bit different 20 years down the road, 23 years down the road. When you think about savings, when you think about paying off stupid debt, if you've got credit card debt, make it a focus. Embrace your inner Dave Ramsey, rice and beans, beans and rice, and knock out that credit card debt. Credit card debt will eat your dollars alive. Dumb debt. There's some debt. Maybe your mortgage is at 2.875%. Okay, you might not aggressively go after that. But there's debt that we need to squash and get out of our lives, which will give us more opportunity to save, to invest, to give, to just not have as big of number we have to hit every month financially. So grade your financial life and give yourself a little next step related to that. Number 11, your attitudinal. That's just fun to say. Your attitudinal life. How's my attitude about everything? That's what I wrote on there, everything. How's my attitude overall? Am I mopey? Am I whiny? Am I feisty? Am I bitter? Or am I full of some joy? Do I have some peace? Do I have some patience? How is my attitude? I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. 10-90. 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. And I think there's a lot of people walking around flipping that around. 90% of what happened to me, 10% how I respond to it. It's fairly miserable. You're always walking around with a chip on your shoulder. You're always walking around going, yeah, well, it could have been there, but that person did that to me 10 years ago. That person did that to me 15 years ago. That person stole some money from me. You're either going to live your life thinking about all of that and letting that own you and consume you and make you who you are, or you're going to tweak your attitude. I can tweak. I asked my wife this the other day, and she actually agreed with me. I didn't know where her take was on it, but it was just this, like, we control our attitude, do we not? We can't control some of what happens to us, and some bad things have happened to people. But for the most part, our attitudes are what they are because of a bad 10 minutes, because of an annoying phone call, because of this client who has this little request, and we let it consume and eat up our attitude for the whole day. 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond to it. How is your attitude going? That's number 11. It's a big part of life. I was in Panera Bread this morning. I'm a SIP Club member. If you're wondering, man, Kyle, you seem to have a lot of swagger. What is it? It's because you're a SIP Club member. I waltz in there. I grab my coffee every 2 hours. You can't go in too often. I get my free drink, which I think I pay like $13 a month for, but it feels like I own the place, just waltzing in, grabbing my free cup. And I think there was somebody, I worked for about 45 minutes in there while I sipped my coffee. And I think there was somebody in there, a coworker, who maybe had a bad weekend. And there was another coworker, I can't quote word for word, but it was basically like this: I am going to refuse to let you have a bad day. We are going to have fun. We are going to chit chat. We might sing a little bit. We are going to have a wonderful day. She was bringing the heat, the positive attitude in a big way. And I thought, man, that other person's day is going to be so much brighter because this person is bringing a positive attitude. There we go. Number 12, intellectual life. What am I doing to feed my mind? I've read 2 books. Count them, 2 books this year, amongst some other things I've dabbled in. 1, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It has impacted my year in major ways and in minor ways. And number 2, I'm reading Unreasonable Hospitality. I'm probably 2/3 of the way there. We have our Remodelers on the Rise book club meeting with Bailey, Cassie, and I on my team at 2:00 today on Unreasonable Hospitality. Reading helps, how would I say it? Reading, listening, even listening to audio, listening to these podcasts should help you continue to improve. It makes you think about things. It makes you evaluate things. How is your intellectual life? What are you doing to feed your mind? Give yourself a grade on that. That was number 12. Number 13, rest/margin life. Am I resting, and do I have space in my life? It's okay to rest. It is necessary to rest, driven entrepreneur, driven person listening to this. And we need to evaluate, do we have margin in my life? What do I need to be saying no to? Am I involved too much in certain areas? How can I get some more margin in my life to most likely invest in my family life, my faith life, my social life, some of these other areas of life? I think our computer and device life is eating into the margin that we could have, the rest that we could have. Interesting. In our time management, if we can improve that, some of these other things improve. And number 14 says, my creative life. Am I finding time to create? What's my pressure release valve? Your creative life, your hobby life. What do you do where you just lose track of time because you're enjoying it so much? It's life, people. Are we just supposed to work? Are we just supposed to be stressed out like crazy? Are we not supposed to slow down and rest, have some margin? Are we not supposed to give ourselves the gift of reading? Are we not supposed to give ourselves the gift of just enjoying some of our creative pursuits, some of our hobbies? Go into your calendar right now and go knock out a bunch of leaving work at 3:00 to go do some hobby stuff, taking some half days off, not just to go run the errands, but to actually do things that you enjoy. Go in there and book some 8:00 a.m. before work or 7:00 a.m. before work breakfast with some of your friends. Go out there and be purposeful with some of these things. And number 14, the creative life is one area that I think is an area that we could do that in. Do not be overwhelmed by this list, but do take it seriously. Go to your show notes, download this PDF, give yourself some grades here, and then identify a handful of things. Down at the bottom of this, it says, what is something that you want to have as a higher priority in your life? As you evaluate these 14, what is something that you want to have as a higher priority in your life? Another question on here. What is something that needs less time and attention in your life? Third question at the bottom. What is something you learned from your grading of things above? What kind of jumped out at you? And then the last one, it says, what is your next right thing as a result of this worksheet? Print this sucker out. Have it where you can stare at it. You can look at it. Give yourself some honest evaluations and work on filling out those bottom 4 questions. This should be a life-giving, not life-draining exercise. This should highlight some areas that you may already know you're struggling in and that you can identify a little bit more clearly how to move it in a better direction. There's some things on here that you can celebrate of some improvements that you've made maybe over the last year. So hopefully you enjoyed that. A little different change of pace here on the podcast. 14 Areas of Life worksheet. Download that. Enjoy a wonderful holiday and Christmas season. And looking forward to kicking butt with you in 2025. Or if it's already 2025 and you're listening to this, Happy New Year. See ya.